Hello, it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here with another channeled message. This is a specific message. It might resonate with you, it might not. All right, so this energy that I'm tapping into is sad. It's really sad. And it feels like it's been that way for a long period of time. So for a lot of you, this might be like a depressed energy. There is a numbness here that's coming through, like an apathy. It's like a resignation. There's a hopelessness. This is a really hurt energy, very fearful, very confused, neglected, abandoned, traumatized. I really feel like this is an energy that is traumatized, but I'm bringing that down to like the fundamental definition, which is like when you experience something that you are ill-equipped to process. So there could be a developmental connotation here for some of these people where they were confronted with adult issues or major issues in a very sudden, shocking, jarring kind of manner that they were not expecting or that they were not prepared for in some way. And this could have to do with like their brain wasn't fully developed, cognitively. They didn't know they didn't have the skills to be able to navigate their way through a very complex adult situation. It also could just be emotionally they weren't like fully developed yet either. Or it could just be that whatever was levied at their door was so extreme that none of us on our best, most developed day would ever be able to process this. But this to me feels like a repeated experience here for this person. But it feels crisis space. It feels jarring. It feels sudden, shocking. There's a lack of support here, like the rug being pulled out from under you. But this has congealed into some kind of jaded energy, like hopeless. I guess this is just the way that people treat me. But I can tell that all this energy that I'm picking up on, it feels like it's been there for a long time, but there's a denial around it and there's a repression. And because it's not natural to this person's energy. This is naturally a very buoyant, very childlike, very playful energy, which I feel like is all the more condemning to the injustices that have been done here. And it's like this person wants to get back to their normal, natural self. They don't want things to kind of get them down. They want to push through. They want to be strong. They want to persevere. But it's like they have to kind of process this, but they don't know how. And it's also overwhelming because it's just heavy. And this person's energy is like not heavy. And I think, so I'm seeing all of this like kind of mixed together in this like concoction, and then I'm seeing it just swirling here around a divine feminine energy in this really thick kind of smog. And like there's all of that like wrapped together, but on top of it, it feels like there's this air pocket of confusion. And that confusion is psychologically protective because I feel like this person has actually been scared to ask the questions of, I'm hearing why. That's the confusion, why? And the confusion and the why it's connected to a treatment. Like, why was I treated this way? I can't fathom being treated this way because this person was told that life was a certain way and that people were a certain way. And that way was genuinely or generally speaking good, positive, hopeful. So if people are generally speaking, like there's some bad eggs, but generally speaking, right, then why? Why did I get treated this way? This person knows that they are a good person, a good-hearted person. So what's the problem? Why? Why do I keep being treated this way? That confusion, it's a pocket around them. And it's like they have to work through the confusion before they can even start processing like this heavier stuff. But also it's psychologically protective because they don't want to maybe admit to themselves that they had nefarious people around them. Because there's a real energy of this person having been made low. There is a taunting energy about that, where there's certain people here that take pleasure in making this person's energy low and keeping it low. And it has to do with like a competitiveness. People want to compete with this person, to rival with this person, but this is I'm hearing angelic energy, but this is a sweet energy that is cooperative. And so it's like people try to come at this person to compete, but it's like from the back. It feels like that betrayal energy because this person, their instinct is not to compete. Their instinct is to be a diplomat and have an adult conversation and to be cooperative. And so it's just confusing. This whole thing has been very, very confusing. And I'm seeing people like in a line, and I just saw somebody very like just viciously and with all the might that they had stand like a few feet in front of this person and just shove like a metal rod through this person's second chakra. It's like they hate it. These people all hate this person's second chakra. They don't want them to feel confident in themselves. They don't want them to feel positive about themselves. There could also be something here very threatening about this person's schmegsual energy. And I think that might be gendered. So a man is scared of being controlled by it or not being able to control it. And a woman might be scared that, I just heard Jolene, please don't take my man. Like, it's that. But this is a sweet person. And I feel like part of the karmas here is like, these are all people that feel less than this person. And from what I'm seeing, I mean, let me not, I don't want to counteract that. They're all more inclined to do these low things. It's just that they know this person would win if they were inclined to compete, but that's not being seen. But anyways, I'm seeing them like just skewer this person viciously, like in their second chakra. But I'm seeing in the back, like on the back of this person, that second chakra is like attached to their heart chakra, like in the back. So it broke their hearts. Like somebody here tried to go after that energy and then it broke their heart. But this is also, if this is schmegsual, this is somebody who like makes love, they use that energy to build and to show love for a person. Oh my gosh. And I just touched my heart. And as soon as I did, it wasn't like a pinprick energy behind my eyes, but it's like a watershed kind of like I was just aware that there's so much like water energy that's like built up. It's pressurized. There's so much of it, but it's like it's held back from the tear ducts. Like it's not there. It's so much. It's old. It needs to come out. It needs to be expressed. But it's like, that's what I'm saying. This person is just like jaded. I feel like this is a person who's was at first very shocked at people's behavior and the way that they were treated, and now is like not shocked at all by how low can you go? How low can you go? This person's like, I guess this is just the way people are. I guess this is just the way that people treat me. And when I'm asking in my mind, like, what would cause this watershed moment? Like, what would cause this dam to break so this person could cry and like get this out of their system? And Spirit was like, well, it's not tower energy because like this person, that tower sudden, this person has had that levied at them so much that they're just like calloused by that. I think what would actually shock this person is if somebody was able to genuinely take accountability for, I'm hearing, the person that they are, how they showed up, and the damage that they caused. And there's a twofold, I just heard two-facedness for being two-faced. But there's like multifaceted, I feel like there's a damage done here, okay? There was like a betrayal. That's the skewer energy. Somebody wounded this person. They did it on purpose. And I think for some, it's like they wanted to immobilize this person. They wanted to make sure that they couldn't rise or they couldn't get away from them and they couldn't go anywhere. It's trauma bond. I just heard trauma bond. But it's also, you have to look at what this person, there's a need to apologize for what this person experienced, but there's also a need to apologize for what this person didn't experience. And I feel like that is an unseen casualty here. Because if this person's being attacked, and there's a close quarters attack here, they're also not being supported. They're not being cared for. And nobody's, wiping their hair back from their eyes, wiping the tears off of their cheeks. They're not being hugged. They're not being consoled. They're not being given advice from a tender place. Those very social, very human things that this person should have been able to expect. That would shock this person the most, is if somebody from their past that hurt them, because like I said, there's a haunted energy about what they've experienced and seen in people. This is like a very haunted person. That would shock them the most. If somebody was like, you know what, I was really out of pocket. That was vicious of me. I really shouldn't have done this. Express genuine remorse. That's what would like actually allow this to like cry. Because that would cut through the confusion. Because part of this confusion is like, why was I treated this way? So it would shock this person because someone would say, well, you didn't deserve to be treated that way. And I was a dick. And that would get right through the confusion. And then it's like this person would be able to feel all that stuff and just like cry and cry and cry and cry. And so there's a real injustice that's been done to this person's energy. It's by multiple people and over a long period of time. And Spirit has stepped in because it originates in how this person was perceived. So I feel like this person's been trying, and for a lot of you, this is you, they've been trying to do shadow work. So they're like, okay, and that's what I'm getting. There's like a blame. There's a self-blame. There's a guilt where this person is trying to figure out why someone would have behaved that way. And so they're nitpicking their own behavior, like, well, I guess I could have done that differently. No. The reason this person was treated badly is because of a misperception. people were perceiving this person's energy in an incorrect way. And so the origin of the origin of this person's mistreatment doesn't come from them. It comes from outside of them. And so you can't fix it at the core if it doesn't come from you at the core. Because these are all adults here. I'm getting that very clearly. And adults are responsible for the way that they see the world. Adults are responsible for developing, if they don't have, skills to see the truth in other people and the world around them. The actions, adult action, karma, right and proper action. For you to take right and proper action, you've got to see what you're doing. You've got to see the truth. These people don't, but they were very comfortable with that because they didn't want to look. They didn't want to see, and they wanted to be justified in their low vibrational energy because they were threatened. There's a real sense of being threatened here. And I'm hearing you're a real gift. For those of you, this is you. You're a real gift from the divine that you shook it up. You were put there. These people needed to address. It was an opportunity for them to address the fact that they misperceive. But then there was this bullying or this ambush or this mistreatment, and nobody corrected their original misperception. And this misperception had to do with a categorization of your energy. And that's kind of where this reading wants to jump off. And that's a real difference. It's a real gulf between the two of you, because I can see if this is your energy, you have a strong sense of yourself as an individual. I feel like this has to do with like the opposite of alexithymia. I feel like you're really plugged in with your own internal space. You know yourself to be an individual. I don't think that you really see yourself as a part of like some kind of category other than some kind of like just superficial energy. I'm not saying that you struggle to answer like basic questions on a survey or something like, it's just, that's not, when you think about you think about your soul, you think about your experiences, you think about your emotions, right? Like as an individual, and you see other people that way too. And I think you just assumed that that's how everybody operates in the world, but these people do not operate that way. And it's psychologically sloppy, and it also prevents them from taking accountability. And that's the difference here. So Spirit is wanting to clear this out and say, let's all get on the same page as to why this happened. Because that's the hurt, the calling of this person's soul. Why? Why was I treated this way? Well, it has to do with the way these people function is they shove people into a broad category. They stop getting curious. They stop relating. They stop taking in information. They stop being reflective about their actions in any way. Once they shove you in a category, there's a period at the end of that sentence. And they're like, well, I'm just the most perfect being, and I'm always right, and I'm never going to revisit this ever again. So it's, you got shoved into some kind of category here. Now, I can see that there's two major clusters of trauma. This, I really strongly feel this is a feminine energy. Switch the genders if that relates to you, but keep in mind masculine is active energy, female is being energy. So even if this is a male, has to do with what you naturally are. It's like nothing that you can control. This is just, it's what you are. You should be allowed to bring that out into the world in a healthy way. So there's two clusters of trauma here for this feminine energy. One is linked to her womanhood. And I strongly feel like I'm hearing young adult. But this is like coming of age kind of experiences. And I just feel there was a cluster of events, and I'm hearing men, but I'm also hearing people, because this energy reared its ugly head through men, and the way that this feminine was treated by men. There's women here as well that felt threatened by her. There's all I want to say about these women is that they felt competitive. They felt threatened. And I just want to make this very clear. These women know how to see you. These women are women too. They know how to see you. They know the kind of questions to ask. They know what it would feel like to be attacked by a man in this way. And they let it happen. And that's all I want to say about that. So, they could have intervened in terms of your humanity, okay? They could have made something clear, and they didn't. And some of these people are pretending to be your friends. And I just want you to know that too. Because they wanted you to be taken down a notch. They wanted to ruin your chances in some elevation of your life, in pursuing a relationship, in pursuing a career advancement. And they didn't want to be the ones doing it, but they stoked it, or they sat by. And then once you got skewered, they wanted to act like they were your friends, and they wanted to act like they knew nothing about it. Just so you know, that's for some of you. Okay, so that's just one aspect of the trauma here, but there's like a cluster of again, it's around womanhood. So that's one. And then there's another cluster here around child. These are categories too, like around childhood, a cluster of events, experiences, the people around you, the way that you were related to. And these are connected to each other, but I want to start at this womanhood kind of coming of age experience. And actually what I'm hearing immediately, okay, so this is a Pink song from back in the day. I can't even remember I can't remember the name of the song or what album it was on, but I'm hearing the lyrics so crazy clear. It starts off and it says, don't assume because I'm a woman that I'll fall in love. Don't expect I'm young and need to be took care of. Don't want to hear you got what I need, because how would you know before we speak? You better understand my side. I've had a crazy, crazy life. Nobody came along to open up my eyes. You better take what you can get. Don't even bother with my heart. I got a feeling I won't let it go. And like what I'm originally zeroing in on is like the opening line, don't assume because I'm a woman that I'll fall in love. And I feel like this is part of like the misunderstanding and the miscategorization of your energy, like as a woman, as it pertains to men in general. Because I feel like I just heard young lady, this feminine energy at this coming age time in her life was around a certain kind of man. And there's all kinds of like studies around like the kinds of relationships and people that we're drawn into kind of mimic and mirror the way that we were treated in our early family environment, because we're processing that through via like on a psychological level through these new relationships. So she was around these kind of men that don't understand women. Okay, they're very confused actually. But I feel like there's a real lack of emotional intelligence and self-reflection and accountability that they don't know that they don't understand women. I think a lot of these men think that they're very good with women. And it's because these men learned about women, a lot about women, primarily through other men. So from this kind of outsider perspective. And I feel like if there was this insider feminine perspective on womanhood, like from a grandmother, a mother, a sister, where they saw somebody experiencing like a feminine experience firsthand, I feel like they dismissed it in some way, or they condescended to it, or it was like, well, that doesn't make sense, or you can't relate to womanhood objectively, or that doesn't fit in a neat box. And I just heard it from you and you're just one person, so I'm just going to disregard that. And they really exalted and put on a pedestal the observations and what they were told by other men about what women are. And it was a very hierarchical black and white perspective that these men offered, kind of like women as a monolith, like a woman is a woman is a woman, which is just inherently untrue. But it was something about like every woman wants this and no woman wants that. And every woman responds this way to this kind of treatment. And every woman responds that way to that kind of treatment across the board, because that's just the way that women are, which probably sounds crazy to you because you have this very individual, like I'm an individual. And again, this links to childhood as well, because I've worked a lot with kids and it's made me very fortunate to be able to take like continuing education classes with experts. And one thing that is said just over and over again, you could really tell that they were trying to break this view of kids as a monolith. They would always say things like, a kid is not a kid is not a kid is not a kid. Because a lot of people are like, oh, that's just a kid. Oh, well, kids do this. Oh, they'll get into that. Kids need this. Oh, well, kids just do that. And instead, they really wanted us as caregivers to learn how to see a kid as an individual. You need to know how Roy acts. You need to know how Addison acts. You need to learn their baseline. You need to know what their sensitivities are and their strengths, because then like as you're interacting with them and teaching them like what kind of knowledge they need, like you can tailor that to them, but also like you can learn when maybe their diet is off, maybe they're allergic to this, right? Like a kid is not a kid is not a kid, and a woman is not a woman is not a woman. And it's kind of pointless to think, okay, well, women are, and we do this about men too, but you still have this concept of like, okay, think about what we do on this tarot channel. Think about when you're with your friends and you're talking about like what guy you like or what guy you particularly don't like. And all we talk about is chemistry. We talk about the personalities, what makes him unique, what makes him stand out, either like good or bad, you know? But it's not, it's just this concept of like women as a monolith. And I do think this ties into like the kind of partner that they have this very hierarchical black and white view of the world. So in terms of like mate selection is what I'm getting, and who they kind of fixate on. This is very Gaston from Beauty and the Beast for me, which I'm hearing when he says, she's the best and don't I deserve the best? But it's this best from an outside, detached category. Like she's the prettiest, she's the richest, she's the most accomplished. If I have her on my arm, I will be seen higher on some kind of status. I will gain the respect of my peers. But it's not through self-development. It's through who I attach myself to in this very cold, calculated, like two-dimensional kind of way. So I feel like that's part of it. Like you were seen as the best. And I feel like, so you had men that really had no business going after you, misreading your signals, like intentionally to just bum rush you. And like, it's like if somebody fumbled a football and then everybody on the field is just diving in for the football. So you just treat it like a piece of meat, like a piece of pig skin, you know? So that's a part of it, but also I feel like this has to do with like ideas and actions around schmegs. And I'm flashing back to my first like real boyfriend, because I had like a boyfriend in 5th grade and we would win each other these like squeezy balls and we would couple skate around. Like I'm talking about like my first actual boyfriend. This was the first guy that like I ever did the thing with. And it's been so long ago now. I think we were breaking up or like we were on the verge of it. We were having a conversation. And I remember him telling me that he was like, well, my dad said, if you take a girl's V card, that she will just be in love with you forever. She'll never leave you. And this is one of the proudest moments of my life, because I was at the height of like my brainwashing and like, oh, you're never supposed to rock the boat or anything. But I couldn't hold it back. Like I just laughed. And I had said, your dad sounds like an idiot. And honestly, truer words were never said. I could not fathom that. I knew myself to be an individual. I knew that I had like a multitude of thoughts and experiences. It was wild to me that someone had told this man that just because we had a certain experience together, that it guaranteed that I was going to have a certain feeling about that experience and about him in that moment, let alone into perpetuity. That was just crazy. It was dumb. Honestly, it was so obtuse to me. And he was a pathological liar, so I don't even know if that was like real, but he really did say that to me, and it's just crazy. I feel like somebody here said something like that to this man about schmegs. It could be about like the V card thing, because I feel like you were bum rushed upon. I actually think I'm hearing weird stuff about pair bonding. So but they're talking about it like it's a button. Like, oh, you pushed her pair bonding button and now she's a robot and she has no choice but to obey you. Like that's the thought. Like you're not seen as a person. So it could have to do with like a schmegdual experience. So in their mind, if they sleep with you, it's just automatically going to make you have these loving feelings towards them, regardless of how they behave, regardless of whether you're respected. And this ties into some kind of intellect thing about women too, because they have this weird like a woman is a robot, like, and then I pushed her obey button and she obeyed me into eternity. That strips away your autonomy. That strips away your experience. I think this person strikes me as somebody who is probably deeply disappointing in the bedroom, deeply. But because it's not even a thought that you might not like it or him or how he approached you. It's just a guarantee in his mind. So in his mind, He bum rushed upon you, he accosted you or attacked you in some way because he wanted to induce love feelings and he wanted you to be attached to him. This is a trauma bond. And I think there's been some kind of epiphany or some kind of light cast into the space that he traumatized you. He attacked you because he wasn't thinking about that. And I think for some of these men, they really thought that there was something wrong with you because they were told their whole life and then validated by these like idiot peers. And I really feel like it's helpful to say that. My mom always said that to me as a kid. Like, if you have questions about schmegs, you need to ask me because all your friends are idiots. All his friends are idiots. So I really feel like they're all perpetuating this like view. So when you realize that you were disrespected, because he didn't think you would know that he lacks respect for you. And you didn't like that. People tend to not like that. You know, he thought there was something wrong with you because he thought I pushed her obey button and then she had a negative experience and she yelled at me and she doesn't want to be around me. And everybody was like, well, there must be something wrong with that one. They tolerate disrespect. They like that. Literally, that's what went on here. And so that you were shoved into some kind of category. This one is wrong. This one's manipulative. This one's not a sweet person because sweet women just roll over and take it, don't they? They don't have any standards. And so you were shoved into this like rotten woman category and they proceeded to like attack you, degrade you, call your names like behind your back. And I really do feel there was women present for this, for some of you, for these conversations. I really could have stepped in on your behalf, really actually knew that you deserve to be treated, respected, really actually heard the story and were like, I hope literally nobody ever a moment in my life does that to me. But yeah, burn the witch. But it was just because they wanted these men to kind of attack you, take you down. It made them feel superior where they didn't naturally feel superior to you. So yeah, something like that went on here for sure. When you did whatever you did here, you got shoved into a category of like a nasty woman, a manipulative woman. You were cold, you were unfeeling. When really it's him. He was cold, he was unfeeling. And remember I said there's no emotional intelligence, there's no self-reflection here. So when you responded the way you did, when life didn't reflect what he thought to be true, he didn't pause and say, wait a minute, what I thought about women might not be true. Maybe I need to like think about this, adjust my behavior. No. Like this person just, just really doubled down. And in addition, like this categorization thing, I'm hearing like your actions were also, I'm hearing a pretty woman. So you could be very attractive And so you were also shoved in that category where it's like, oh, well, pretty women. Okay, because this has to do with your traits. Because I feel like you're a very sweet person. Like, I feel like if people pull back and they see you as an individual, they would just see your sensitivity, that you're very empathetic, you're very considerate, and you're a very sweet person. And you're like, why didn't they see that? Like, you're like, I'm not trying to harm anybody. I wouldn't harm a fly. Oh, they saw it. The men here saw it and they saw it too, but it's because you were a pretty woman. There was some kind of category that you were in. So they said, she's just doing it to because she's full of herself, or she's just doing it to be seen in a certain way, to get what she wants. Again, manipulative. So everything, you couldn't win here. Everything that you did was cast in a negative light. And that's why you were treated in this way. So I'm hearing Spirit say, like, we got to stop the self-blame here, because these people are all responsible for their own actions. They're responsible for their own perceptions and for their skill sets in regards of being able to process through their own. I mean, and this is unfortunate because I feel like there was this built on each other. I feel like you showed your vulnerability in some. I really do. I think that you showed that you were hurt, or that you were sensitive, and that you needed help. I don't think anybody came to your assistance. This is so Beauty and the Beast, because I'm seeing Belle come back from the Beast's castle and run around town like, please, you've got to help me. And then they throw her in the crazy bin with like her father. Oh, she's just crazy. And I will say, for some of you, there could have been like a sadist here. If you think any number of these people are like psychopaths or sociopaths, narcissists, I don't blame you at all. I don't think they probably all are that way. I think at the very least, there's a shared touch of sadism that this group all has, and it's in regards of your energy. But if somebody here was trying to intentionally harm you, they were trying to gaslight you, and they were, oh, she's crazy. That's the way that you gaslight somebody's position. They're crazy, don't listen to them, when you were never crazy. So that's part of like the mistreatment here. Now, linking this back, there's like some kind of treatment here in childhood that I feel like this also ties into, because when you were a child, I feel like that's the category that you were shoved into, is just child. And so they had this view, your parents, I definitely feel like there's a certain masculine energy here around you, but they had this worldview that a kid is a kid is a kid is a kid. And so because of that, they weren't relating to you as an individual, like your specific sensitivities and needs and levels of confusion. They weren't tailoring their parenting even and their reactions and stuff like to you specifically. And for some of you, I'm hearing, okay, this was actually also seen, that you were very sensitive and very sweet. But I'm hearing like, okay, I think there's a father figure here that was very threatened by that, because he feels very emasculated, like he doesn't feel very manly in and of himself. So he could see that you needed that extra level of support, and that he needed to teach you more about like boundaries, how to set and maintain your boundaries. But he didn't want you to stand up to him when you got older. Like he didn't want you to push back. He didn't want you to, he's so fragile in his ego that he didn't want you to argue with him. But this undercut you, because arguing with your parents, like especially I'm thinking around like teenager time, is a part of your development. And this does have to do with boundaries, adjusting boundaries, setting boundaries, maintaining boundaries. So and part of it started when you were a child, because I don't feel you were considered. And this does have to do with asking for consent, because again, I've worked with kids a lot, and you always should ask a child like that's old enough to speak with you and like have an opinion about these things. Like, is it okay if I touch you? Can I brush your hair? Do you want to sit on my lap? You should always ask that. Because it's not about power and control. And I feel like this masculine, because he's so emasculated and weak, like within himself, he viewed that through a lens of control, and it's like, you're a child, you should listen to me, or like children should be seen and not heard, or children are meant to mind, they're meant to obey, but hasn't earned that like right, and tried to kind of dismantle your power apparatus. So he should have, and even like with other people around, should have been asking you about your needs and your comfort level. Like, is this okay? Do you like this? Do you not like this? Do you want this? Do you not want this? Because they are supposed to be modeling healthy boundaries, so that you have this internal alarm system when somebody crosses a boundary, because your parent has already shown you where a healthy boundary should be maintained. And if your parent is minding your healthy boundary, then a stranger damn well better be minding your healthy boundary. Nobody should be bum rushing you, feeling entitled to touching you or being near you. Nobody should be having that feeling, if even your own parents, right? So it's teaching you that alarm system. And as you feel respected, like your parent actually cares what your comfort level is, if you like doing something or if you don't, if you build up that relationship with that parent, when you start to become that teenager self and you need a little bit more independence, then you would actually feel comfortable to challenge. And you're not doing that to be disrespectful. You're doing it because you're learning how to state your own independence in the world. Even adults have to figure out how to do that, how to manage up to their bosses. As citizens, we all have to keep governments in check. You have to learn how to manage authority. And you should have been presented with that opportunity. You needed to lock horns with your parent, is what I'm hearing. You needed to be respected. You need to have a dialogue. Well, tell me why you think you should get more computer time. Tell me why do you think your curfew should be 7 p.m. and not 6 p.m. Tell me why. Make a cohesive argument. But if I tell you no, learn how to accept that no. Like you needed to, but this parent, I think this is a masculine parent around you, was just so threatened by that. They thought you challenging them, because they just saw it through the lens of power dynamics, that was incorrect, that was wrong. But really, this is a failure to protect, because they wanted to exploit you. And I feel like this could even have to do with other energies around you that wanted to exploit you. Like even just your kindness, they always wanted you to forgive them. So if they taught you how to push back, then they would have to keep their act together. But really all they did is made it easier for other people to confuse you, and that you had to figure this out on your own, like people to take advantage of you. And then it made it to where you were so confused about treatment because nobody had ever treated you properly that it's taken you forever and a day to just like work through stuff that honestly they could have really prevented, like a lot of this. The people that were around you when you were a child. And I just feel like there is maybe some light. I don't know about the parents thing. I do feel like there's some, with these masculines and possibly feminines, this group that's been around you, I feel like there's been some light cast into this space. So these parents may never learn. I think they do feel guilty, but they also feel entitled. But it has to do with that category that they shoved you in as a child. But I think for most of you, this was like a double whammy, because not only were you a child, you were a girl child that was going to grow into being a woman. And I think this family structure had certain ideas around what a woman is, but it's jiving with who you are as an individual, because they were like, oh, well, she needs to be, accommodating and sweet, ever giving. But the thing is, you don't have a problem with that. Like I said, this was known that you were sensitive, and you didn't have a problem being sweet to people to the point of it being a problem. And it had nothing to do with your gender. It just has to do with your personality. You're naturally very sweet. So you were always going to grow up into that feminine ideal of being sweet. But the feminine is always dual, and you have to be that bitch mother too. Nobody can come and eat your babies. You have to learn how to defend yourself here as well. And just because you were a woman, nobody taught you that was not only appropriate, but expected in certain scenarios, and taught you the actual skills. Here's how you stand up. I was in the self-defense class one time, and there was this like really badass guy. He was just like crazy good at fighting. And everybody was always like very intimidated, but I remember seeing him teaching this woman something, and he was like, hit me here, like hit me here. Like, this is what should have been going on. Like with this parent, teaching you how to hold your own, stand on your own 2 feet, take control of your own space. But again, I think you were a girl child, and you were expected to grow into this like very deferential woman, which you were already very deferential. You were already going to grow into womanhood. But if they didn't see you in that category and instead saw you as an individual, they would have recognized that this was going to be a problem. And then they would have dealt with you as an individual and worked with you specifically on that issue. Even if there was other kids in the home that didn't have that same issue, you would have been tailored to in terms of specific lessons, specific expectations, something here about that. So I think you're very confused because you know the person that you are. You expect to be seen as an individual, but I think I don't think you were. I think for the women that were around in this group, they were very jealous, maybe competitive of schmegsual competition. I think you're the last person on earth that would try to mate poach. And it tends to be the case. I think this is the last thing that I want to wrap up here. It tends to be the case. I feel like this is something that you're supposed to learn. When people meet you with cruelty, most of the time that links to some kind of insecurity and some kind of lack, because it's actually just more energy, like conserving your energy. It's easier, it's smarter, even logically smarter, to make friends and not enemies. So if somebody is taunting you, if they're teasing you, if they're being intentionally cruel, it takes extra energy to do that. And there's usually a reason. It's because they're insecure and they're weak. It doesn't have like anything to do with you. Most strong people are kind. They're not threatened. They like to see people succeed. They expect people to overtake them as they grow in their skill sets, and I think that's what you're meant to learn here. And I think that's also you. Like, that's why you I think it's like you didn't feel threatened, you know, by other women's beauty around here. Or if you did, it's like you still saw their humanity. Like, I don't know. I just kind of feel, I don't know why I'm like kind of finishing with this, but it's like you're the last person to try to steal anybody's man, because I just heard you're a lioness. You don't want anybody else's man. You want your man, and that's it. And they didn't have to worry about you. And some of these people may have learned that the hard way. They may have had others of their friends try to sleep with their guy or something, and it wasn't you. They were the one doing it to you, and they were less than you and weak and insecure, and it led to their cruelty and some kind of like sloppiness. It doesn't tend to be the best person in the room. It doesn't tend to be the strongest person, the genuinely strongest person that's out here just causing amok. Yeah. It doesn't tend to be that. So I feel like a lot of people are learning that via your energy, that they were threatened by you, but you weren't a threat and you weren't trying to be that. It's like all this sensitivity that you have, they were casting it in a negative light. And it really is like you were the last person that should have been accosted like this. You were the last person that should have been treated with such indecency. And there's a sense of someone should have, I really am getting the sense that you appealed to the group for assistance. Possibly like one-to-one. You reached out, or you were confused. They probably met your confusion. Like, I'm so confused. And then nobody explained anything, or they just tried to sweep it under. I could cry right now. I feel like that's the biggest betrayal of all, is that you were trying. You were reaching out. You were trying to be seen. You were trying to be understood. You were trying to get help. You were trying to resolve it in your cooperative way. But these people just shoved you into a category in order to feel justified about what they had done to you behind your back. So anyways, that's what I'm getting for you. If that resonates, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.